on YouTube. Is it YouTube or the YouTube?
YouTube.
Don't older people say the YouTube?
Yeah, probably. They say duh on anything.
All right, are we
Go
good?
live. Yep.
We're good. Boom. All right. Everybody, welcome back to the Paul Gough Show, Coffee with Goughy. We are live around the world. And you know what? It is great to be back. Hello, everybody, on TikTok, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on YouTube. The summer is over for me. Do we have a violin music for Paul? Because summer's over. He's back at his desk in Orlando. There we go. Feel sorry for Paul. Summer is over. After nearly 10 weeks of traveling with 5 kids to Portugal, to England, back to Florida for a vacation, London, Blackpool, and various places in between, the kids went back to school in Orlando this morning. It was fantastic, actually. The energy here in celebration, and the high school and the school here is just the K8 school is just outstanding here in celebration, and it's just cool to be part of. So today the kids went back to school, and it was funny, actually. The mixed reception this morning was either one of complete and utter joy and relief on the face of some parents, and it was tears on the face of other parents. And it's interesting how people completely see completely different and experience the completely different emotions of the same situation. And I think that is just a lesson in life, that nothing is right, nothing is good, nothing is bad. It's whatever you choose to bring to it. So whether or not you're a parent that is ecstatic at the idea that your kid going back to school next week or the week after, or you've got tears because perhaps they're starting for the first time in a new school, or they moved on to middle school or to high school, we're all essentially experiencing the same thing according to our beliefs, our view of the world. And I just think that's it's not to be forgotten, because it's very easy to think that everybody sees the world the way that you do. So anyway, we're back. The podcast is here. I feel like this is the second half of the season. And what I mean by that is January through May, I always tell and teach this, that business owners, you cannot sustain a 12-month season. You cannot do it. You never have been able to do it, and you never will be able to do it. And it isn't a badge that you should be trying to carry with you as a kind of shingle that you hang on the door. It's impossible for somebody who is creative, who is needing to think and solve problems for a living, to think that they can do that for 12 months of the year with some crummy, measly 5-day vacation crammed in somewhere where you take the phone with you and you reply to the WhatsApp and the Slack messages and so on. You can't do that. You never will. And if you're trying to do that, that is the reason that your business is failing. And I've been a big, big believer that the more breaks that you take, the more you make, and you do everything that you can to separate yourself from the business so that you can think creatively, you can think strategically, you can just see the world differently, experience things differently, and come back with a different energy to your business. And I have a system now which is basically full throttle, January through end of May. I take now June and July pretty much off. There's a webinar or a little event somewhere in the middle of it, and then I come back August right the way through till early December, and I have another month off at Christmas. And I try to work for 9 months of the year. Now, obviously, I'm always on, I'm always thinking, I'm always coming back with ideas. But just being away from the day-to-day thing, I find really, really helps me. If you can have that little, let's call it a Control-Alt-Delete, right? Let's use that language in this community. Control-Alt-Delete. It's just a reset, and you come back a completely different person. Now, you might be the only PT at this point, or you might not think that you can afford to do that, and I respect that. But what I know is, historically, if you don't set that out to be a goal and you don't make it your mission to take more breaks, you never will. And if you follow what most business owners do, which is that I'm too busy and I can't, and you don't know, Paul, and it's okay for you, and all that bullshit that people come out with, good luck. You'll be at that desk for many, many years, and you'll be treating those patients for many, many years. And maybe this morning, like when I dropped my kids off, I get to hang around, and I didn't come in this office till 9:50. And I went for a little coffee with some friends outside the schoolyard. In fact, there was a coffee shop outside of school this morning that was a pop-up style thing. And it was just wonderful. And there was no time pressure to be back in this office. And I've built that over the years, over a 20-year period, the ability to live like that, and to behave like that, and to think like that, and to do like that. So it's not something that happens tonight or tomorrow, but it's certainly got to be something that's your intent to be, to live that way. So So we're back. We've got another, like I said, I think it's the second half of the season. And that means one thing. Apart from Almost Daily podcasts, where we're going to be answering your big questions, and I have a feeling there's some big questions coming today, second half of the season in the Planet Paul community means one thing, and I'll spell it for you. Are you ready? It starts with a P, and it's got another P in it, and it's got an M in it, and it's a live. It's called PPM Live, and it is the biggest, now staple event of the Planet Paul community. We did the Cash Pay Summit in Los Angeles in May. We packed that one out. This one is always the biggest. Over 1,000 PTs have attended this conference over the last 5 years. I think we're up to something like 1,300 PTs over the last 5 years. We sell it out every single time. We've got room for 250 at this one. It's taking place in Orlando at the Renaissance Hotel. It's the annual conference for the Planet Paul community. The best of the best business owners get together. The elite PTs, if you like, want to come and learn how to run a successful business. It's called Private Practice Marketer Live, affectionately known as PPM Live, and it takes place across the weekend of 13th, 14th, and 15th of November. And if you are a fan of the show, you are a fan of me, you're a fan of just making money and living life and just spending time with your kids and being present and just enjoying life, which is a rare thing these days. It seems like I preach a very rare message to have fun and make money at the same time, because everybody's so serious, particularly in the PT profession. They're all serious. And I'll tell you why they're serious. Because they are clueless about running a business. You look at somebody who's struggling in life or in business, their default is to be serious. So if you like making money with a touch of fun, or you like having a lot of fun and making a lot of money, this is the event for you. This year's is Top Gun themed. It's a hat tip to Top Gun, and it's called Highway to the Profit Zone. And I'm going to share with you everything that's happening right now with our best clients to make the maximum amount of profit for your business. And I'll tell you why that is important now more than ever, because most of you are struggling to grow for this one reason and one reason only. There is an abundance of patience out there, right? You've just got to figure out the marketing strategy. And we'll talk about that at PPM. But what's happening to the majority of the profession, I'd say well over 50%, their growth is throttled right now because you simply can't find or hire therapists. And I'll go on record as saying that that's what is killing most people listening to this, or it's about to. If you are a solo practitioner thinking about hiring, it is going to throttle your growth over the next 6 to 12 months. And I would say on record that it isn't as much to do with the fact that you can't find PTs, although they are scarce. They are definitely in less supply now than they were 5 years ago. The challenge you've got is most of you are simply not profitable enough to compete. And you can't compete with the big hospital systems and their big signing on fees and their $150,000 a year salaries. And I keep saying it now, that's what PTs are asking for, because the big hospital systems will pay it. Your business model, if you can't hire PTs right now, and you're going to hate me for saying it, you are simply not profitable enough. Because if you could afford $150,000, you wouldn't have a hiring problem. So have you got a hiring problem, or have you got a lack of profitability problem? And that right now is what unites the PT profession. So I've pitched the event to my team to be the highway to the profit zone for a reason. We're going to get you into more profit fast so that you can start to compete with the big systems around who are pinching your PTs, who are stealing your PTs, adding $10,000 to the salary that you right now can't compete with because it probably bankrupt you or take away all of your profits. So if you have aspirations to grow, hear me when I tell it to you. Your lack of being able to find and be competitive in the marketplace is what's going to throttle your growth for the next at least 5 years. You have to get to profit zones fast. And that's exactly what Top Gun PT, the highway to the profit zone, is all about. Everything that our members are doing, including wellness, of course. The marketplace is shifted when it comes to marketing and how to market online. And that's the big opportunity for you online to separate yourself from everybody else so that you can attract the right type of client. And of course, we've got to talk about AI. There isn't a serious, sensible business owner right now that isn't using AI already. Whatever your opinion on it, leave it aside. It's being used and has been used now for at least 18 months in this community, whether it's answer the phone, whether it's to analyze financial situations, whether it's to get marketing content out there, whether it's to answer important pressing business questions for cash flow forecasts. AI exists to do all of this for you now and reduce the number of people that you need in your business, therefore making you more profitable. The formula is simple. You need world-class marketing relevant to the now. You need AI systems to reduce the number of people as you grow. And you absolutely must be implementing a wellness concierge service in your business, because that is where double and triple the margin, the profit margin, is taking place and is happening and is being found in the best businesses in the Planet Paul community. Really, really simple, three-prong approach. And that's what the Highway to the Profit Zone PPM Live event is all about. Early bird tickets go on sale depending upon when you're listening to this. August the 18th. That will happen. It's this weekend. What's the date today?
Today's the 10th.
Today's the 10th. It goes. What's this Friday? 14th. 14th through the 18th for the early bird registration. So you can register for tickets, and then officially PPM Live is open to anybody who registers for tickets. There's nothing to buy. You've got to enter your details at ppmlive26.com. Just put your information into there right now, in the next couple of days, probably when you're listening back to this, and you'll get all of the ticket information sent to you. And if you are one of the first 10, we're giving away free hotel rooms as well. So if you are brand new to the Planet Paul community, we're making it drop dead easy for you to get to Orlando by giving you a free hotel included in your ticket, first 10 only. So there we go. That's what's happening in the world of Planet Paul. The second half of the season is here, and we're excited. I'm excited to be back, and I've got lots to share with you. It seems like there's been lots of stupid shit going on around the world as per usual, and I'm sure we're going to get some questions around some of the crazy ass shit that goes on that you would think that grown ass adults would be capable of ignoring, but they can't, because they are emotional, and I'll keep it respectful. They are emotional creatures that are very insecure and need to be right and need to fight with everybody the minute that somebody sees the world differently for them. And the problem is, and I never used to have to tackle these problems on this podcast, they are making their way more and more and more into the world of a PT business owner's life. And if that is you, you are in the right place, and that's what this podcast in my community is all about, helping you make sense of all of the stupid shit that's going on out there so that you can enjoy a terrific life, build a very successful business, make shitloads of money, and just live happily ever after with your family, your kids, and just enjoy life. Did I say enjoy life? All right, let's get into it. Producer Jay, over to you for the first question. Remember the format. It's blind questions. Send them into Instagram at the Paul Gough. That's where we take all of our questions from, and we pick the best. And if you need them to be anonymous, so be it. We can do that for you as well. And I'll answer any questions that you've got. So let's go.
All right, we got Tyler Bennett from Bend, Oregon. 2 of my staff love Sophie Cunningham. The other 7 think she's a horrible human being. They're now arguing about her at work, and it's starting to divide the clinic. Do I step in or tell everyone to grow up and get back to treating patients?
In a nutshell, the latter. We remind these patients that they don't really give a shit, or we remind these PTs that patients don't give a shit. The 2 o'clock appointments just wants their back pain fixing. And if only life was that simple, it would be a lot easier for us all to navigate. But I get this and I see it. I've seen a little bit of this. I'm not a massive WNBA fan. I love my NBA, but I'm not a huge WNBA fan. That said, with a daughter in my life, I am a lot more conscious now of female sports, and I pay a little bit more attention to female sports and just kind of what's happening in that world for obvious reasons, because I'm entrenched in that world of having a daughter now, which for 12 years it was all boys for me, so I was probably a little bit ignorant to a few of the things happening in female sports. I don't mind admitting that, but yeah, now I'm obviously a little bit more conscious of these things that are happening. So I've seen this, and I clicked on it. I don't know, probably when did it all kick off? A couple of weeks ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago. Something obviously popped into my Instagram feed. I clicked on it, and boom, you know how the algorithm works. That's it. You get inundated with things that are going on, and so I'm conscious. I'm aware of what she said. That she has love for everybody was basically what she said, wasn't it? Bring me into it just to confirm.
Yeah.
Sophie's stance on it was that she has love for everybody, including the transgender community. However, her opinion is that she doesn't think that they should be allowed to play in women's sports. Is that it? Is that in a nutshell?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the overview for those of you who don't know or haven't seen it. But it is a big. Again, right? How do I say this without being disrespectful? Right? It's just another one of these classic snowstorms where the powers that be, the media powers, who are now probably the most influential people in the planet want you to believe that everybody is up in arms about. And the reality is they're not. And what you find mostly with these snowstorms that happen on social media is that there is probably 2 to 3% of the planet even remotely against whatever it is, or kind of irritated by whatever it is. And what you're finding now, if you step out of it, is that actually the large majority of the world, when it comes to these things, they're only really pissed now because it's actually happening. They're not really against Sophie Cunningham, from what I can see. I don't think the majority of people in the world are. But I think it's very easy for the people who might be seeing something on social media to be influenced by it because of the ferocious narrative that social media will kind of make sure that you see to rile you up. One way or the other, it wants to rile you very quickly and conquer and divide. Are you going to go left and agree, or are you going to go right and kind of, or left and disagree and right and agree, if that's probably the right way to think about it. So I'm aware of it, and I'm conscious that these things make their way into clinics. So right now in Oregon, and isn't that where it kicked off? Wasn't there a big kickoff in Oregon?
Started in Oregon, yeah.
I think the whole thing did kick off in Oregon, where the two, wasn't it the two girls who carried a sign that said "Thank you for supporting us"?
Yeah.
So just so I'm making sure I've got this right. It was two 14-year-old girls who had a sign that said, "Sophie, thank you for supporting young girls," and the manager of that team, is that right, or the owner of that team, basically kicked them out. And I've seen the video, and it was quite horrific, really, what happened. And I remember there was a grown-ass man, it must have been in his 40s, who I think had a daughter, was shouting some version of "take the trash out" at these girls who were like 13-year-old girls. And I just remember watching that video thinking, how is that man allowed to have children? Like, seriously, how is that man, whether you agree with Sophie or not, how are you allowed to have children when that's the level of self-control that you've got, that at a WNBA game with the girl or two girls in their teenagers, 13-year-old, not 18 and 19, 13-year-old girls who are still making their way in the world and still kind of figuring life out and are probably hormonal and kind of easily influenced and all of these other things. How do you not have a tiny little bit of humility for that, right? And just go, I acknowledge what these girls are doing. I don't necessarily agree with it. And I'll privately acknowledge, and I might even discuss, if that's the way you think about it, with your own daughter, that you don't agree or you do agree, right? But to voice your frustration and anger to two 13-year-old girls who are putting a sign up, quite simply supporting somebody and something that they agree with, right? I just look at that and think, that's the vileness in the world, right? That this has gone from you allowed to having an opinion to... if your opinion even remotely differs from mine on whatever the subject is, I will get violent and aggressive. And that level of self-control is disappearing in the world. And I'll take it into whether whatever Sophie said you agree or you disagree. My job as a teacher is to discern what can we learn from this, and how will we as leaders of people, men and women, how will we navigate the increasingly choppy waters of a culturally divided society that has wildly different opinions about these types of subjects and topics. And I will teach around it about the subject that I was taught. This is what I'm going to do. I've, for a long, long time, been on a journey to live a very well-rounded, not necessarily calm, but emotionally calm, happy, well-rounded, fun-seeking, self-confident, aware, awake kind of life, right? Where I'm seeking as much awareness and consciousness as I possibly can. And one of the things that I had to learn, let's say 5, 6, 7 years ago, probably, I think it was just before COVID that somebody introduced me to a way of living that I can only describe as a dualistic way of living. And this very smart guy said to me, he said, Paul, if you look around the world, he said, one of the like the kind of clues of how not to live is when you look at people who are mostly unhappy, which is a large majority of the world, one of their biggest sources of frustration is the dualistic way that they live. And what that means is they have a on-off kind of life. They're either happy or they're not happy. Something is good or bad. They are for vaccines or they are anti-vax. They are for Trump or they're not for Trump. They believed in COVID, they didn't believe in COVID, right? Like whatever it is, there's such an on-off digital kind of life, right? And it's a red or black life. It's a good or bad life, and there's nothing in between. And every shade of green is green. There's no other version of green, right? It's just green. And what you see more increasingly is this is what's actually coming to the surface when these types of problems happen, that there isn't any room for any other way of living than a dualistic way of living. And the majority of the people that you see who are chronically unhappy, constantly fighting with somebody over anything or something, these people have dual ways of living. And it's an on-off life. It's good or bad. It's called binary thinking, right? And it's a genuine thing that when you watch it and watch it play out, the happiest people are the complete opposite. They can hold simultaneously, they have an increasingly better ability to hold two apparently, let's call them contradictory ideas at the same time. And this is where this Sophie Cunningham thing fits in. So if I was talking to my kids about this, this is literally how I would explain it to them. That equally, I looked at what Sophie Cunningham said, and she said, I've got love for people and I've got love for the transgender community. I just don't think that they should be in women's sports. So there's two things going on here, right? But because they heard you can't have this, they now don't believe that she actually does like all people and cares for the transgender community. So that's an example of their inability to be able to hold two simultaneously different opposing opinions at the same time. And this is their frustration. So I'll give you a couple of examples, right? I'll start with this random one as to how this works. And there's no way we opt out of this. We either live like this or we don't. And I'm about to give you a very silly example relative to a conversation about transgender. And I appreciate that it is a silly example, but I'm going to start here. Jason, just humor me. Do you smoke?
No.
Just say that you do for the purposes of this, right? So Jason smokes. So the first thing I want you to know is, Jason, I really like you. I think you're a cool guy. You're an amazing guy. You're obviously raised by a fantastic family with good values and good morals and all of these things. And I think you're a nice human being. And I get you. But I want you to know, Jason, I'm not a fan of smoking. I actually think it's a little bit stupid. I think it's life-threatening. And for me, it's a nasty habit. And I'm just going to say to you, Jason, I think it's a little bit of a nasty habit. And I just don't like it. Are you with me? Yep. But I like you, Jason. See the difference? Tell me the difference here with Sophie Cunningham. I like you. Just disagree with smoking. I don't like smoking. And I'm going to take it one step further, Jason. If you smoke, right now I would say to you in a work environment, Jason, why do you do that? Right? You're going to die early. You're losing your money. Yada yada yada. Right? Bang. But I'm going to leave it there. But you've hung around with my kids, yes, at the bar or in a restaurant, and we've been out to Disney Springs. If you lit up a cigarette in front of my kids, I'd categorically tell you to move. I'd tell you to leave. So at this point now, my belief has moved from I don't like smoking to my belief and my values being you ain't doing this around my kids, categorically. So I've stepped it up a level at this point now. But I'm going to go all the way back, Jason, and go, you can smoke your cigarette over there and do whatever the fuck you want. And you can come back in 10 minutes. And I still think you're a cool guy. And I still think you're a good family man. And I still think you're a nice man. And I still think you're a good human being. And I still think all of the things I thought about you, like I said 60 seconds ago, I just don't like smoking. And more to the point, I do not want you smoking around my children. That's it. End of. Right? Like, move on. Now, if you continue to smoke in front of my children, what do you think I would do? First of all, I would move. Right? I would move. I would take myself out of that situation, which I've done many times. In fact, I did it on holiday recently in Portugal. A very ignorant couple, I'm sure we were very nice people, by the way, a very ignorant, rude couple, in my opinion, sat right next to 5 children and continue to smoke in their face, blowing it directly into a baby's face, and one with Down syndrome, who has breathing difficulties at the best of time. Now, I had a choice at that point that I could have an argument, have a fight. I could call them Western shit. I could call them whatever and rude and disrespectful. Or I could simply ask the girl who runs the restaurant, could she find me a new seat? Because I don't care to smoke cigarettes for the next 2 hours, and I don't want my children inhaling those things either. So I think the family in that moment were rude and ignorant in what they did. I categorically don't like smokers around my children, but I'm certain that those two individuals are very nice human beings. And I bet you they've got nice kids, and they're probably good parents, and they're hardworking individuals and citizens and all of this other stuff. My ability to separate who they are as individuals from their love of smoking and their ability or their desire to smoke in front of my kids allows me to be a very happy individual. Because if not, I walk out of that restaurant and I go, they're complete arseholes. And anybody who smokes who's an arsehole. And that's not true. Anybody who smokes and smokes in front of my children has a wildly different view of the world and what I believe to be right than me. But that doesn't make me right and doesn't make me wrong. It allows me to hold exactly what I've just said, two apparently contradictory ideas simultaneously. So I can separate Jason from Jason the smoker and Jason the smoker who smokes in front of my children. And in doing so, we can have a perfectly happy relationship, Jason. Do you get me? And I don't need to go to an NBA game and scream, take the trash out in front of two 13-year-old girls. Because that man has zero ability to separate that Sophie is well within her rights to say that she has love for everybody. And I firmly believe that she does. I'm yet to find, and I did go down a rabbit hole with a little bit. I can't find anything that would if somebody was going to come out and say she's been doing this and she is this and she's a chronic racist or she's chronic this, if that was like, if she was that person, that would have come out by now. And from anything, I can't see any of it. Now, she has a different opinion to a few people who follow the WNBA. That's it. And can we move on from these things? Now, of course we can't, because most people are not adult enough to do that. They are unconscious in their thinking that they need to be right and are unable to separate every aspect of any situation. And I've said this before. I know I'm speaking to a stupid human being, right? And I'll say this respectfully. A stupid human being. If I said to you, I know you hate Donald Trump, is there even one thing that you think he's done well for America? Is there even one? If you couldn't find it, I know I'm speaking to somebody that just is probably very unhappy and constantly arguing, because even if I completely venomously, emotionally and passionately dislike Donald Trump, there is at least one thing that he has done to help the United States. And if I might not like Joe Biden, right? I don't like their policies on small business. I don't like their policies, even the shit that's going on in New York. And by the way, now sounds like it's going to go on in Michigan, where it's going to be a free-for-all and they're going to take... Part of me at least would go, I kind of get the sentiment of what they're trying to do. I don't agree with how he's doing it, but I kind of like the fact that he wants to care for somebody, but I don't like the way that he's doing it, right? So even if I'm a staunch hater of Joe Biden, I'd have to come up and I'd have to be able to find at least one thing that Biden, or if it had been Kamala Harris, or in England with whoever the nugget is now that's in charge, Andy Burnham, the only way that I can ever continue to be happy is if I approach it with a view of, I might disagree with all of these things, but let me at least find one thing that he's done well. And if I can't do that, that is me and that is my view of the world, and it's going to cause me to be chronically unhappy in everything that I do. Now, I appreciate right now, I've probably just pissed a lot of people off mentioning Trump or even Biden, right? Asking you to find one thing that he did that served the country well. In fact, there is a very famous book that I was taught about in marketing a few years ago that emphasized the point that the most important thing in anything to do with marketing is actually the title. And there was a book placed on Amazon, and it was called All of the Things That Barack Obama Did, All of the Amazing Things That Barack Obama Did While He Was President of the United States. And it was a 200-page book. And do you know what was inside of the book? Nothing. There wasn't a single word printed inside of the book. And it was a rather comedic way of explaining the point. And by the way, the book sold thousands and thousands of copies, and it got into trouble because obviously there was nothing inside it, right? But the joke was all of the amazing things that Barack Obama has done for the United States. And whoever wrote it obviously was passionately against Barack Obama. And it was a pun, and it was a joke, and it was a, poke fun at Obama for not actually doing anything for America, right? And loads of people bought the book, and probably many people agreed, and some people will have been pissed, and some people will have whatever. And this is my point. You couldn't say with a straight face that Obama didn't do at least one good thing for America. But some people will tell you that he didn't do anything good for America. And that's not true. We're just not looking. And what we've got is already a bias. We've got a dual way of living. It's because I didn't like this one thing that he did, or two, or three, or four, and therefore I've concluded that everything that he did was wrong. And they are the chronically unhappy people, of which sadly there are more and more and more and more and more in life. Because we are promoting and teaching, and because we're seeing it so aggressively on social media, and we're seeing it in the workplaces now, that's how Sally behaves. Well, that must be right. So Sally comes in and she has an opinion on Trump and doesn't like him for anything. So, well, I'm not allowed to have an opinion on even one thing that he does right, because I daren't. Because if I do, what they'll say is, because I like that one piece over here that helped me and my family, what they'll say is, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, and all of the other things that somebody who supports Trump would be associated with. And that's where we've got to in life, that I can't even say that I like this one thing for fear of being labelled with all of these other things, because the idiots that you are talking to and are around live a on-off digital binary dual way of living, basically. So I'll give you some examples in the PT profession just to make sure that this point isn't political. And this is happening all over the world, and it's happening every day in your life. Are you ready? So this is under the banner of the ability to hold two apparently contradictory ideas simultaneously. And that's all that's happening here with Sophie Cunningham, as far as I can see. She's holding two contradictory ideas. He's one that every PT listening to this as a business owner is going to do either right now or will at some point in their life. Sally is a great PT, but she's a complete pain in the ass. Yes? Mm-hmm. Sally, the head PT, is an amazing PT, but she's very difficult to manage. That is a contradicting idea. And they're both true. She's equally a great PT as she is equally a pain in the ass. I have to be able to acknowledge that both are true and exist. And here's another one. Dropping insurance is necessary for this practice, because if we don't drop insurance, we're out of business. However, it's going to piss off some patients. That is again, part of the ability to hold apparently contradictory ideas simultaneously. It is true that dropping insurance is necessary for the business, but it's equally going to piss some people off. And if I can stay there and I can make decisions from there, I will have a terrific life. It's the ones who think dropping insurance is necessary, but that means that we're bad and we can't do it, and oh my goodness, you're a bad person, and two patients said you're rotten and you shouldn't do it. Equally, AI could be the thing that saves you and makes you $100,000. You ready? Here we go. And this will test everybody. And this is a classic example of what's happening right now to failing businesses. AI, it is equally true that AI will make and save you $100,000 depending upon the size of your practice, because it'll replace 2 employees. And pretty soon it's going to replace your PTs, or it will be a service that you will offer. Even though right now you are venomously against it, it will be a service that you offer, because you will be able to make money on it in the next 2 to 3 years, if not sooner. However, AI might piss 2 out of 100 of your patients off. Now, here's what's interesting. The ones who don't live a dual way of living, the ones who can see and hold 2 apparently contradictory ideas simultaneously, they are the most profitable business owners right now. They're also the most happiest business owners right now. And I will show you this everywhere in their life, that this way of living happens. It is the early adopters to AI, who are the early adopters to hiring, who are the early adopters to Google. And it was equally, Google Ads might cost me $2,000 and it's a risk. But equally, it could flood my practice with 15 high-value patients every single month. They are 2 equally contradicting ideas being held simultaneously. And I'd put it to you listening to this or watching, that the business owners who master that way of living are the richest and they are the happiest. And I'll equally put it to every one of you listening to this, and I hope you're turning this up nice and loud, and I'm poking a little bear because it'll be pissing some of you off. The ones who can't do that, you are the miserablest, you are the unhappiest, and you are the brokest, if that's even a word. And as I've said all of my life, this life is as predictable as clockwork. How people think and how it correlates to how they behave is as predictable as clockwork. It's as predictable as the sun coming up in the morning if you live in Florida. It is going to happen. And your inability to do this is costing you money, it's costing you freedom, it's costing you enjoyment of life, and it's causing angst, it's causing anxiety, it's causing frustration, and moreover, it's causing you to be a poor person when you're trying to live a nice life with all of the shit and hassle that comes from running a business. And the more I think about it, I've got pictures of clients in my head, people that I've met over an 11-year period, and I can tell you every one of them that lives a dual way of living where something is aggressively right or aggressively wrong. There's nothing in the middle. They are the unhappiest and they are the most unsuccessful. The ones who are able to approach a situation and go, do you know what? Sally is a great PT, but she's a fucking pain in the ass, right? And we're going to have to do something about that. Whereas what will happen to somebody else is, oh, she's a great PT, we have to keep her. Well, no, she's a great PT, she's a pain in the ass. What matters to you the most? Let's deal with the one that matters to you the most. And dropping insurance is necessary, but it's going to piss some patients off. So what? They're both true. Which one matters to you most? An AI is going to save you or make you $100,000, but you will get 2 complaints every month. What matters to you most? And the ones who see the 2 complaints are the ones who see trouble in everything Trump says or everything Biden says or everything that they see on social media. The Sophie Cunningham thing will piss them off. Whatever it is that they see will piss them off. There is no rounded view of the world. I can think that you're wrong, right? And this is the way I would sum it up. And I've tried to teach this around emotional outbursts and the difference between having an opinion and judgment. I've got an opinion on a lot of things. I've got an opinion on most of my staff. I've got an opinion on governments. I've got an opinion on countries. I've got an opinion on Sophie Cunningham, right? I've got an opinion on everything that's happening in the world within reason, if you ask me. But I draw the line at judgment. And judgment's when I get emotional, and judgment is when I need to be right, and judgment is when I look at 2 13-year-old girls with a simple sign that says, thank you, Sophie, and I shout, take the trash out. Like, you've just crossed the line from an opinion to judgment. So my positioning has been all the time, you can have your fucking opinion, and I love it, and I'll debate you on it, and I'll talk to you about it, and I'll laugh, and we'll end with a beer, and I'll go, cool, I love it, fantastic, it's not how I see it, based upon my perception, my books that I've read, my upbringing, my childhood, my setbacks in life, my victories in life, which is basically what it all is, down to our perception of life. I don't agree, and I'll tell you, I don't agree with you, but I can still love you, I can still think that you're wrong, without concluding that you are horrible. And I think anybody who can get to that place, you are without doubt going to be the happiest person and probably the richest person that you'll know. My advice to this person would be some version of this. Don't teach your staff what to think. Maybe we need to teach them how to disagree. Don't teach your staff what to think, because that ain't going to do anybody any good, right? You can lead the horse to water, but you can't make them drink. I wonder if there's a little bit of, and that's essentially what this last few minutes has been about, is I'm helping you understand how to disagree well. We need to agree well, and we need to disagree well, which is something that isn't really on most people's agenda these days. Their agenda is off the charts and I always look at this and I'm like, I look at that dad who is supposed to, and he walked out with his daughter. And again, the contradictory nature of it all was he's trying to protect his daughter from 2 girls who are trying to support somebody who they think is trying to protect them. How the fuck do you think that you're right? Like, do you get me? Who gave you the moral authority to think that you're right in that situation? Now, I'm not saying you can't have your opinion, and if you want to privately educate your daughter that you don't like Sophie Cunningham or her views or then that's absolutely fucking cool. Go for it. But when you're bringing a level of aggression to 2 teenagers, like adolescent teenagers, and the whole subject is around protection of females, and you're standing there with your female daughter, who looked to me to be about 10 or 11, screaming at 2 13-year-old girls who probably immediately felt worried for their safety and intimidated, and I didn't see a father there, because I suspect if there was a father there, he'd have smashed him in the face, headbutted him and kicked him and done everything else, and not one person would have been able to say that wasn't warranted based upon what that dick was doing. That level I'm at a loss at the level of idiocy and stupidity. Like that's a special level of stupid to get to, when you can't see that you're caught up in a moment that sucked you into something that was about protection of females, in their opinion, how they wanted to be protected, and you walk up with your daughter to aggressively attack those females in front of your daughter. I'm absolutely equally flabbergasted that happens, but equally not shocked at all, because I think and know that that's the level of stupidity that we've got to in this life, and that's the lack of self-control that we've got to in this life and in this world. And you wonder why there's so much chronic unhappiness. And people think, and I say this all the time, you think the fucking government, a change of government is going to change all of this for you? A change of a rule, a change of a policy, you campaigning for this one thing to make sure that you get what you genuinely believe that that's going to make you happier. All right, good for you. The real lesson, how about this one? Don't become the WNBA. Keep the focus on patients. Didn't Sophie Cunningham come out and say, why do everybody keep making this about this, and they keep going into it, and the press conferences are about what everyone's opinion are on something? Why don't we just focus on the patients? The 2 p.m. appointment doesn't give a shit. And if they do give a shit, kick them out of the fucking building. If they start causing you shit, or they start having opinions on you, or judgmental opinions on you, and you feel uncomfortable, get rid of them. And the final thing, that it's very easy to think that because 7 people disagree in this office that they're right. 2 are not wrong just because 7 are right. And I hope you never ever forget that, dear listener, because the majority are very rarely right. In fact, the thing that I've taught my kids very, very early, when they zig, you zag. And if you see a majority, run the opposite way. If you see a majority walking right, you go left and you go solo, because that's the path to where the riches are. The masses are unconscious. They're mostly fucking stupid. The majority, what was back at the school gates this morning? We've had a relative nice period of time without e-bikes in celebration, and what rocks up this morning? It's like a fucking... it's like gang warfare outside of the schools now with all these e-bikes and everything that's going on. The masses, the majorities... And it's a matter of time before the laws come in that the parents get prosecuted as a result of these e-bikes, and then guarantee what will happen. The parents will be like, I'm really sorry, son, you can't have an e-bike. Why did it take the government to produce a law for you to do something that you knew was fucking wrong in the first place? Like, why? Social media is going to be exactly the same. Parents are waiting for the government. They've done it in Australia. They're flirting with it in England. They're waiting for the governments to go, you can't go on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook legally until your child is 16. And if your child's on it, you will be prosecuted. That law will come in the next 5 years, and parents will jump when the law comes in, and they'll all tell their children, I'm sorry, you can't have it. And they'll all secretly think, I wish this had happened years ago. And my argument all along has been, why aren't you strong enough to go, I know what's right for you? And I won't have your bullshit excuse of, but their friends have got one. Great. So just because every moron in the class has got one, let's turn our kids into moron, right? That's been my stance from day one with everything. If the majority are doing it, it's probably fucking wrong. How do I know? Because the majority is skint, the majority are unhappy, the majority end up getting divorced, the majority... I seen this stat the other day in England. The new government in his wisdom, the new Prime Minister in his wisdom, thinks the way to fix mass, what would be the word, socialism, where billions and billions and billions and billions and billions get spent on people who don't work, right? Let's leave it there respectfully. So he thinks the way to fix that is to change the inheritance laws. And so basically they're going to tax you more when you're dead, which is already at a paltry level of £350,000, right? So in the United States, the inheritance law threshold, I think, is 15 million, give or take. I might be wrong by $1 million or $2 million. So you could leave 15 million to your children and your estate and your family without paying any tax. In England, it's £350,000, which is roughly $500,000. Do you know how many people would be affected by that? Have a guess. How many people do you think actually ever cross the threshold of 350,000 in England? Just rough guess. Just let it sink in. 85 million people. What percentage do you think ever leave more than 350,000?
It's got to be low.
Go on.
Percentage? Under 20%?
5%.
Oh, my God.
So let's just do that. 85 million people alive in Britain at any one point. Only 5% of them ever leave their children enough to ever be taxed on. How are you living for 85 years? And this feeds into my argument. When you try to defy the laws of gravity or statistics or math, you will end up painfully beaten, right? And my point of don't follow the crowd is what I'm trying to raise here. The masses will never, even in England, the overwhelming majority, 95% of people, will never, ever, ever leave their children anything to be taxed on. In today's day and age, where if you owned a home and you bought it before COVID, most people would probably have already made a couple of $100,000 just on buying a home before COVID because the house price is going up, right? How do only 95% of people actually ever have a problem with tax in England? 95% of people living 80 years on this earth aren't leaving their children enough to ever get the government involved. My point, whatever you read into that, I read into it, most people are fucking clueless. That's what I'm getting at, right? That you don't copy them, you don't model them, and you don't follow them. And if they go left, you go right. If they zig, you zag. And I'm drilling it with a capital T into my children. When they zig, you zag. If all of their friends want something, let's see if we can hold on, right? If your friends want to go over here, let's see if we can wait for that, son. If they're all rushing over and their parents are all behaving like this, let's see if we can hold on. And let's see if we can just walk a little bit of a lonely path or an isolated path. And we deal, son, with a little bit of a question around why you haven't got a phone and even a little bit of ridicule. I'm okay with that. I'm absolutely fine that my children build up a little bit of resilience to them being asked why they haven't got the latest bikes or the latest fucking iPhone or the latest iPads or the latest whatever. It doesn't make any discernible difference to the quality of life that we're watching their friends sadly go the complete opposite way as a result of having access to all of this technology and information. And you want the fastest way to take a kid to an adult, just give them access to Instagram, WhatsApp, and fucking TikTok. Simple as that. Anyway, it isn't about that. The rant, as always, is about discernment, conscious thinking, a non-dual way of living where you can see multiple shades of green. If I can see as many different shades of green as humanly possible, and you can only see one, I'm a happier person by default. You show me a business owner who lives dualistic, it's on or off, good or bad. There's nothing in between. There's zero, if any, understanding about business, about people, about their marketing agency, about Google Ads. It's just either good or it's bad. I got what I expected or I didn't. Well, what if your expectations were overly optimistic? Well, that doesn't matter. Well, what about if you have spent $1,000 on Google for the last 10 years and you've never increased it, even though Google's ad spend costs have gone up with inflation like 20% a year? That means that real time you're probably now spending half as much as you were, and that's why you're getting half as many clients. Does that not matter? No, it doesn't. You're a bad agency. I'm going to somebody else who'll kiss my ass and lie to me for 6 months. Okay. But I have a feeling I know what will follow you is that same way of thinking into every decision, every relationship, and every way you get. And round about 45, I'd like to think at some point you're going to go, holy shit, I'm looking in the bank, I still got no cash, I haven't got these great relationships, I seem to be fighting with everybody, my staff never hang around, and I don't feel good about myself. Do you think I should possibly consider changing the way I think and the nature of my life and the way I see life and the arguments that I get into for whatever reason, which is nearly always, by the way, tracked back to levels of insecurity in people, that they have to be right? You are watching the greatest, biggest, massive, ever on the face of the earth majority of people who are insanely insecure. And that's fucking up any chance that they've got of a fulfilled, happy life before we even get to the point of salaries and money and a nice home and wealth and paying inheritance tax and all of these other things. You have the absolute highest number of people ever on the planet who are perpetually insecure and have zero chance of ever having a fulfilled life, no matter how much money they make. And that's what you're watching. And that's what, if you're not careful, dear listener, you are taking part in, whether you are a PT, whether you run a business, own a business, don't own a business, whether you don't even own a pair of fucking shoes. This is what's going on around you, and if you take part in it, good fucking luck is what I say. So anyway, that's my thoughts. Teach them to disagree, not necessarily how to think. And the best lesson of all, let's not become the WNBA, because it looks like it's an absolute crock of shit the more that I see coming out of it. Don't become the WNBA. They should just be keeping the focus on the basketball and all of these sports. And I'll go on record, and I don't care if you shoot me down, the Olympics shouldn't be about politics. Football shouldn't be about politics. Sport is an escapism for all of us, for all of the shit that we deal with all week, all day, all night, whether it's with our kids, problems at school, problems at work, problems with finances. for me, I get it with music, right? I get it. That's the roots of a lot of, your Bruce Springsteen. And I get it, right? I don't love Bruce Springsteen, but I get it, right? I think he's a complete fucking whatever, but his music's amazing. But I get it. I get it. Some of the songs and some of the sort of origins of the music in the 60s and the 70s and 80s, like, it resonated with people because of their situation, financially, politically, and so on. And I think that's brilliant. So music, I think it's got a little bit of a place. But in sport, no. Nowhere, no way, no how. It is the last greatest thing that somebody like me or anybody, after a good solid week and you've dealt with shit or you've dealt with whatever, you just want to go and watch a game of basketball or a game of football or an NFL game or a tennis match or a whatever, and it's the last place that you can just put that TV on and hope that you won't see anything political. But even that now, the fuckers are spoiling that everywhere you go, and for me it's wrong. And again, I'll say it. It's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong. Give people a safe place, even just fucking 90 minutes to go watch a game of football, be inspired by some genuine athletes and, Sophie Cunningham or Caitlin Clark or whoever. Let little girls be inspired without fucking infecting them, and let them come up to their own conclusions further down the line if they agree with transgender or not, or they agree with males in female sports or females in male sports, whatever. They'll figure that shit out themselves when they're old enough, and they'll thank you for being raised in a space and an environment for long enough that their brains got to mature and develop, and they just had a genuine childhood. Every single day I tell my kids, enjoy your life, be a kid. That's it. We'll deal with all the adult shit later on. Let's not talk about any of that crap. If it comes up, my only question is, what do you think? If they ever bring any of it up, I just literally ask, what do you think? They usually say something, and I go, I agree. Let's get back on with playing some fucking basketball, and we'll deal with the rest of that shit when hopefully we just fucking bypass it. Nobody's achieving anything as a result of it. Anyway, right, that was that question. Got time for another one?
All right. We got Marcus Reynolds in Boise, Idaho. One of my PTs caught me posting a job ad for another physical therapist. Now he thinks I'm secretly trying to replace him, and the rest of the team are asking questions. Did I just destroy their trust?
So we've got a PT business owner who's placed a job ad up that is for a job that's currently filled in the clinic. Yeah. And he's asking if he's done anything wrong. Yeah. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. This business owner's job is to ensure the longevity of this business. And unfortunately for most people, employees can't always ever see that is actually the primary job of the business owner, is to ensure that the business endures. And my business has to go on a lot longer than probably any member of staff, current included, who some have been with me for 7, 8, 9 years, will probably be around for. And I'm being optimistic at the highest level if I think anybody's going to hang around with me for 25 or 30 years. Now, some will and some might, but the majority won't. My primary job is to ensure that this business lasts as long as is humanly possible to serve the needs of the number one people that I went into business for in the first place, which is family. Everything has to be on the table and nothing is off the table as to what an employer does. Now, here's the irony of it. An employee could plot for weeks and months to leave the business owner and walk in one day and say, I'm off. And I'm going to give you a 7-day notice. If I'm lucky these days, I'll get a 7 days notice. The respectful ones will give you their 14 or their 28. But unfortunately, we live in a decreasing respectful world where most employees won't even give you that anymore, despite having paid their fucking mortgage for the last however many years. Why, again, let's go through it. Why is it okay for an employee to plot for months about leaving the business and then land a bomb on the desk of the business owner without any notice? But all of a sudden I would be an arsehole because I am conscious of the longevity of my business, that at any point any member of staff might be leaving and could be leaving and I wouldn't know anything about it. Why would I be such a bad person for having job ads up that allow me to speak to people and talk to people? And let's not even sugarcoat it. Consider that given my number one job as a clinic owner or a business owner is to ensure the best team possible, that there actually might be some better players out there than the ones I've currently got. Why am I such a bad person for doing that? Well, the answer is I'm not. But again, because most people see acts like this as bad and greedy and evil and corporate and all of the other things. And What's funny is the employee would sit at home with their mum and dad or their auntie and uncle or friends at Starbucks and go, oh, my employer did this and, yada, yada. And none of them would sit down and think, well, actually, I've done this 3 or 4 times where I've looked at new jobs and I've considered leaving and moving and I've applied for them, but I didn't get them, but I didn't tell my employer. The friends won't actually go, well, you did the same thing as he's doing. He's just keeping his options open in the same way that you're keeping your options open. Now, because there's a small minority of business owners, we're always the evil ones, and anything that we do gets taken out of context and proportion. And really, all we're ever trying to do is ensure that the business endures, and it endures long after every member of staff, because that's my job, and the customers get served, and my family gets what it needs, and I'm never at the mercy of any member of staff ever leaving or quitting overnight without at least even considering what I would have to do to replace that person. Your job is a business. What is the phrase in business? I've got a version of this that I've evolved, but the phrase that I was taught 10 years ago, only the paranoid survive. And I absolutely, you're not paranoid, but something's going to go wrong, right? Is the view that the business owners have to have. You're not paranoid, but something is going to go wrong. You're not paranoid, but they are leaving you, right? Like, you're not paranoid, but somebody's fucked something up right now. And that is the default of a business owner. I've evolved it to positively paranoid. I have a positively naive outlook. I am very naive, but positive with it. I believe things can be done that most people don't. And in that respect, I'm naive. But I get so much progress from thinking like that. And I'm equally positively paranoid. That I don't wake up schizophrenic, like constantly thinking that the world is bad and it's all against me. But I am positively paranoid. And Dan Kennedy had a phrase that he taught me very early, the positive power of negative thinking. Just let that sink in, the positive power of negative thinking. And what it means is that you don't dwell in negative thinking, but there is a positive power in you considering that negative things could happen. Because for most people, they dwell either so far optimistically in positive, kind of everything's going to be all right without a plan or without a paddle, or they dwell perpetually in negative thinking where everything's always going to be wrong. And nearly always, and Tony Robbins taught me this, what the really negative, down, stressed, worried, depressed people do is they believe that negative things are going to happen to them because it's them. And they insert themselves, they insert I into the negativity, and that creates the struggle. It is very, very fair and reasonable for a human being to look at a situation and think, what could go wrong here? I'm about to move house, what could go wrong? I'm about to move jobs, what could go wrong? I'm about to get married, what could go wrong? Oh, did I just say that? Like, the best marriages, in my opinion, would have a conversation before it and go, okay, we're about to get married. There's all the fairyland Disney World shit that we've all been promised in the movies. Now let's talk about what could go wrong. And let's have some hard conversations about what if we do change and what if this happens and what if potentially that happened, because we'd be absolutely crazy not to consider the negative consequence of us being married and 3, 4, 5, 6 things going or changing. How would we respond knowing what we know now if that did happen? And that will allow us to get on the same page. The positive power of negative preparation. Again, this is elite level thinking. This is like serious stuff for serious people trying to live really good qualities of life. So I don't think this business owner has done anything wrong. Fully support it. Hats off, hat tip. You are doing your job. It doesn't mean necessarily that you're going to move this person on. It means that you're staying curious and you're planning to grow the business. And what if there's 2 roles in the same department that is needed? And newsflash, there often is in a growing business, that I need 2 good head PTs, or one looks after clinical, one looks after, I don't know, some other area of the business, finance, or the sort of big leadership role inside of the business that means they're not as clinically hands-on. So, as always, the masses will make you try to feel guilty for this type of thing. But as I see it, you are safeguarding the success and longevity of the business, which is your goal, and you have to do it above and beyond everything else inside of the business. And if you go one layer down from that, you're building a team. Your job is to build a team and try and find better players for the team constantly. And that occasionally means that you have to admit you've made a mistake after 2 weeks letting somebody go. It means after 2 or 3 years you have to give somebody a kick up the arse and tell them that their standards have dropped and they haven't moved on as well as they could have done at this point, and they've got complacent. Right down to 6-7 years down the line, setting new expectations and new standards and new needs and requirements in the business, for the business, and asking them to step up to achieve it because the business has evolved. So, as always, business is not easy. It's why most fail at it. And it isn't to be taken lightly. And as always, it's why you need to be around people who think differently, and you need to be at events like PPM where you'll be surrounded by people who think differently, think like this, will encourage you to think like this, rather than trying to do battle on your own and, you know, driving to work every day listening to a podcast thinking you're learning. And you're not, by the way. Like you're maturing your thoughts to a degree. You're maturing your thoughts and you're changing the way you see the world. But it only becomes relevant when you get in that game and you go tackle some of these subjects and some of these topics. And if you shy away from them, you're not learning, you're kidding yourself, you're hiding from the real getting in the ring and getting your face smashed and then figuring out how you deal with it after that. That's what life and business is all about. Here. All right, done? Happy with that?
Happy with it.
All right, some good conversations. Keep them coming. Send me your questions for the show. We're going to really ramp up the live Coffee with Goughy, the Paul Gough shows over the next few weeks. The second half of the season is kicked off in the Planet Paul world. We're excited. We're building towards the massive event, PPM Live. We will have 250 of the best clinic owners. Top Gun. We need some Top Gun music as well. I know we'll get done for copyright. Let's leave that. We'll get shut down. We'll give that one a miss for now. But it's Top Gun, PT, Highway to the Profit Zone, PPM Live, be there or be square. It's the elite marketing school for physical therapists in private practice. We shall see you there. And last but not least, head over to getpaulai.com. Talk to Paula. She will give you insights into PPM Live. So you can head over to getpaulai.com and you can call Paula. I'll give you the telephone number on the next show, but head over to getpaulai.com. And Paula's there. She's our voice AI that we developed. But you can talk to her and she will tell you all about PPM Live as well. So that might be a cool way for you to experience AI, the Paul AI platform, which is now in over 140 clinics, and at the same time ask some questions about PPM Live. The podcast is cool, but nothing beats being in a room when we're discussing big topics, big money-making, life-changing, business growth topics, and you're there with 250 business owners. And there is, by the way, I think some of you think that these events don't happen, right? I can only believe that for some of you, because I hear, I've been listening to the podcast for 3 years and I wish I'd come sooner, and, you know, I wasn't quite ready, and, you know, and I'm like, well, what have you been doing for 3 years? Well, listening and reading, and, you know, it's like, fuck that, dude, get in the game, get the flight booked and get to Orlando for November the 12th, 13th, 14th and 15th. It's a 4-day event this year. Pre-day if you want to come on the Thursday. If not, I'll see you on the Friday. We kick off at 9:30 Eastern, Friday the 13th. A lucky day for many, many PTs. See you then.